The scream shattered the silence of midnight like a piece of glass crashing onto cold concrete. Every porch light on the street stayed dark. Every curtain remained closed, but one man couldn't ignore the desperate cry for help. Ethan, a widowed single father raising his 8-year-old daughter alone, rushed out of his house without thinking twice. As he reached his neighbor's porch, the frightened young woman threw the door open, burst into tears, and leaped into his arms as though she had finally found safety after hours of terror. If you believe kindness can change lives and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Kindness Space. Your support helps spread stories that remind us humanity is still alive. Ethan had lived on Maple Street for almost 3 years. Since losing his wife in a tragic accident, his world revolved around work and his daughter, Lily. Every morning began with packing school lunches, tying shoelaces, and pretending everything was okay, even when loneliness quietly followed him everywhere. Across the street lived Emma, a quiet woman who had moved into the neighborhood only a few months earlier. She smiled politely whenever they crossed paths, but her eyes always carried a sadness that words could never explain. The neighbors knew almost nothing about her except that she kept to herself and rarely invited anyone inside. That night, as Ethan stepped into her living room, he immediately sensed something was terribly wrong. Furniture had been knocked over, broken glass covered the floor, and Emma's hands trembled uncontrollably. She couldn't even speak at first. Her breathing was uneven, and fear had completely taken over her face. Ethan gently helped her sit down while making sure Lily, who had quietly followed him despite being told to stay home, waited safely outside with another neighbor who had finally come out after hearing the commotion. As Emma slowly regained her composure, the painful truth began to emerge. Someone from her past had found her. For years she had lived in fear after escaping an abusive relationship that had stolen her confidence, isolated her from her family, and left invisible scars no one could see. She had changed cities, changed jobs, and tried to rebuild her life from nothing. But that night, the nightmare she thought she had escaped had returned. Someone had been pounding on her door, shouting threats before disappearing into the darkness moments before Ethan arrived. The police searched the area but found no one. Even after they left, Emma couldn't stop shaking. Ethan knew exactly what fear looked like. After losing his wife, he remembered countless nights sitting awake beside Lily's bed, terrified that he might fail as the only parent she had left. Pain recognized pain, and without asking for anything in return, he simply offered kindness. He fixed the broken lock on Emma's front door the next morning, helped clean the shattered glass, and reminded her that she didn't have to face everything alone. Days slowly turned into weeks. Emma began smiling more often. Lily adored her because she always remembered little things, like her favorite cookies or the books she loved reading after school. For the first time in years, laughter could be heard coming from both houses. The empty spaces left by grief and fear slowly filled with friendship, trust, and hope. Still, healing was never easy. Emma struggled with panic attacks whenever an unfamiliar car stopped outside her home. Ethan battled guilt whenever he thought about moving forward with his life, wondering if loving again somehow meant forgetting his late wife. Both carried invisible wounds that couldn't be healed overnight. Yet every conversation, every shared meal, and every simple act of kindness became another small step toward recovery. One rainy afternoon, Lily unknowingly changed everything. During a school assignment about family,